Fit in 10, it is day 30. We are now 3/7 through this challenge. 3/7, which means we're almost the halfway point, if you can believe it. So hopefully you're watching these videos and hopefully that will motivate you and not discourage you, okay? Next check-in is coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. All right, so yesterday we talked about what is better for fat loss, higher reps and less weight, or more weight and less reps, okay? So the short answer to this is higher reps and less weight. But obviously we don't want to go too little weight. Obviously we're not going to get any kind of benefit. Just like if you did cardio and there was just very little resistance there, right? You just wouldn't get your heart rate up. So, really we're talking about volume of movement with enough resistance. So, and when I'm talking about higher reps, I'm talking about 15 reps to, that 40 rep range, okay? But long term, I think long term, if you train in that 6 to 12 rep range, the rep range that a textbook would tell you you're going to build more muscle, I think that you would get, you would build more leverage and momentum doing that. So you wouldn't see that trade-off right away, perhaps, but long-term you would see more of that trade-off, okay? But you want that initial trade-off right away. What's going to burn more energy? What's going to chew through more fat? Well, obviously doing a form of exercise where you are going to burn more energy. So obviously if you do more volume, you do the lighter weights and higher reps, you're going to burn through more energy, you're going to burn through more fat reserves, okay? So hopefully that makes it clear. All right, how to prep for your diet, okay? Okay, so this might be a bit late, but somebody asked this and I'm finally getting to it. So here are some general points that I made, and hopefully you'll find these helpful. But I kind of think that these are at the same time they're obvious for me, but I guess that doesn't really mean too much. So let's just get right to it. All right, so number one, inventory your foods on a regular basis. All right, you shouldn't open up your fridge and be like, oh my God, I'm out of what I expected I should have. You should know what you have. So inventory your fridge I would do it every 3 to possibly every 7 days, depending on how much you buy at one time. Okay, so inventory. Not just your fridge, inventory your other areas, whatever your pantry or wherever else you store non-refrigerated food. Number two, when you shop, I would suggest shopping on the perimeter of the store. So that's generally where you're going to get your meats and your dairies and your fruits and vegetables. And the aisles typically contain, for those of you who are not aware of this or haven't thought about it or noticed, they typically have more of the refined foods, which don't necessarily mean they're bad, but that's typically where you're not going to get your, foods in their most natural state, okay? Number three, make batches of food, okay? When you go to cook whatever you're cooking, make some batches of it. Now, I know a lot of people, or I do get some people that say to me, I'm getting really tired of pulling food out of the fridge and then warming it up in the microwave. Yes, for sure, certain foods are better when they're freshly made. But I will tell you, I only made this because I had a friend staying with me. I made this like quinoa chicken casserole, which was it was actually a lower, even though there was quinoa in it, it was still lower carb and moderate fat. It had some feta cheese in there and then some flaxseed oil, etc., and some vegetables, chicken broth, etc. Well, there's a few things I want to say about this. First, the casserole was huge. So I had it made 12 servings, and every serving was 70 grams of protein, okay, which is super high. It would be super high for you guys. And still got 12 servings. But one thing about the casserole too is as the time went on, it actually got, the flavor just developed more and more in the casserole. So it actually got better, okay? So make some recipes. Make some, I made some turkey meatloaf a couple days ago, and then this quinoa chicken thing. And these are kind of, it makes things a little bit more exciting if it's in the fridge and you've got that ready to go. All right. Maybe I should have mentioned this beforehand, but make your proteins, and I know I already talked about this, but make your proteins and other foods in advance, and make different, types of proteins and carbohydrates available. Okay. So, proteins, again, if you're vegan or vegetarian, my apologies here, but some obvious ones are things like maybe a certain kind of fish, a certain kind of red meat, maybe a certain kind of poultry. All right. If we're talking about carbohydrates here, maybe it's a certain kind of rice, like a brown rice or wild rice. Perhaps it's some yams or potato or squash. If you like squash, these types of things. But also, make sure that you have some easy sources of proteins and carbohydrates on hand. So easy sources, things that don't really require any preparation at all. Things like protein powders and cottage cheese and Greek yogurt and eggs and egg whites for your proteins. Protein bars, or I prefer to call them food bars, because those iso bars, for example, those are a great food bar. They're made with all whole food ingredients, pretty much. And, if we're talking about carbohydrates here, your fruits and maybe certain vegetables that you don't have to cook. There are certain kinds of breads and crackers which are acceptable, like a brown rice cracker, or like a squirrely bread. Okay, these are all things that are just ready to go, right? Of course, most fats are ready to go. If you have things like nuts, nut butters, different kinds of oils, etc. Okay, real butter. All right, so even with those foods that I just mentioned, you can make a whole meal without really any prep whatsoever. Okay, other than just having to put that meal together. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say on that. But again, it's about that inventorying and then that preparation beforehand. Okay, and then doing that repeatedly. Okay. Let me know if this helps you. I have a feeling the person that wrote me this question wanted some more detail. Okay, so let me know. Martine, if you're watching this video, maybe you can shed some light on some things that might be helpful. All right, 8 minutes in. Okay, let's get to the message of the day. Reset, readjust, refocus as many times as you need. Just don't quit, okay? Just don't quit. Reset, readjust, refocus as many times as you need. Just don't quit. I'm going to say it one more time. Reset, readjust, refocus as many times as you need. Just don't quit. You're not going to quit. This is the week of quitting. Of course, this is the week that's been known for quitting, but of course you will not quit, right? You will not quit this week or any other week. You will not quit, because surely the only way that you will fail in this challenge is there's only one way to fail in this challenge, and that's just to quit, to stop. Okay, finish it and do it as best as you can. We are really just getting into the meat of it now. We really are. Okay, these next 3 weeks, when you see your next scan, you're going to see some great results. So long as you're following things, okay, you're going to see some great results. I promise you that, if you haven't already seen great results. Okay. Although I have to say that in the last scan, this was probably the best second scan we've ever had in the history of the Fit in 10 challenge, in all 12. All right, positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I'll talk to you guys all very soon. See you guys.